Good Saturday morning, the 9th of September, 2023. This is David Crompton with, as always, the Godfather, Mr. Chuck Fiebernitz, and Jonathan Crompton on the Jonathan Crompton Show with Tuscola Football. And yes, we're here, and we're not going anywhere. Before we get started, Chuck?
I got to drink mine out of porcelain, although I did leave my package of cups in your car.
Yes, but we got you. We got you.
I have confiscated those.
Orchard Coffee. And if it's ever a Saturday morning that it's needed, for me, it is today because usually Mr. Rise and Shine Sunshine, who is never late, never behind schedule, is late and behind schedule. So anyway, good morning. Tough one last night at CE Weatherby. But before we get into the game, what an amazing crowd. Jonathan, Chuck, just an amazing crowd in historic CE Weatherby. The support is phenomenal. The band was phenomenal. Mm-hmm. The cheerleaders were phenomenal. Everything was hunky-dory except for those 4 points. And anyway, welcome, gentlemen. How are you both this morning?
I'm good. Just getting my day started.
Maybe I'm fine, but maybe can we get like a dentist for a sponsor, official sponsor, something last night I was chomping on a chicken wing and out goes the tooth.
I need to know where those chicken wings came from.
East Coast, West, not a sponsor of the show, but that's where I got them.
Well, I thought that somebody talked about Michigan and you got in a brawl, the over 60 brawl.
No, not me. That's not my style.
Michigan. He doesn't need to get in a brawl about Michigan. Michigan's going to run the ball all over everybody this year.
So, anyway, good morning. Learned a lot last night, I think. And, I'm going to kind of throw it over to you two for a little bit and just listen. And let's kind of do an overview, and then we'll break down quarters, as we always do.
Johnson, going through the game, the beginning game, what was your thoughts going into the game to begin with?
Oh, I mean, we obviously knew we had a good game plan. They couldn't, especially early on, and we knew they would do a couple of adjustments at halftime to our 4x1 sets. But like I preached to the kids last night, we've got to make sure we don't beat ourselves. Nothing they did stopped us except ourselves. And untimely penalties that I will be contesting with the state. We'll just say it that way. With that referee crew. Just overall, I'll be politically correct about it today. And it's not about penalties, it's about player safety. I'll just say it that way. That was not upheld on both sides. And it's not just one team. I mean, and if anybody that knows me, I would say that to any game at any level, because especially when they're teenagers playing the game. I know it's a physical sport. I get that. I played till I was almost 31 years old. But at a certain point, you can't look at me and kind of shrug your shoulders as a referee. I'll just say it that way.
Got it. So you get involved into the game, and the coin toss, they won and elected to take the ball, which told us everything we thought was going to happen.
Yeah, and we knew they were going to try to hold the ball.
Right.
And that's going to be the story I was telling our kids last night. That'll be the story of the rest of our year. Everybody knows we can score in under 90 seconds. So we just, we've got to be prepared that when we go on the field, we got to be efficient offensively.
Right.
Just because our time of possession is not going to be – it's not going to be a lack of us going 3 and outs. It's going to be because we're able to score pretty quickly because we have a lot of playmakers all around on offense. Big play potential all over the field, and so that's a credit to our guys. And that, to me, that's one of the biggest compliments as a coach when guys snap the ball at 1 second. And that's, like I said, it happened last week. This week it's going to happen in 2 weeks when we play Franklin. And I would assume a lot the rest of the year, which is understandable. We just got, like I said, we just got to be efficient.
Because and let me interject real quick, Chuck, just a number before you ask your next question. Time of possession last night, Swain 35 minutes, again Tuscola 13. So that's 2 weeks in a row under in the 13-minute area.
Under 15.
Yeah.
Depending on how picky you want to be, but 12 to 13-ish minutes the past 2 weeks. And like I said, that's understandable.
And credit to them.
To be honest with you, if I'm playing us, I would do the same thing. So I'm not hating on. That is a very smart game plan against an offense like we have. And with the playmakers we have all over the field, because at this level, it's very hard for guys to match up with all the receivers that we do have with our O-line that can protect our quarterback. I don't blame anybody that tries to do that. Heck, I would do it. Like I said, I would if we're playing a team like us.
So it's safe to say that if Tuscola, would have won the coin toss.
Oh, we were taking the ball.
Got it.
And that was a strategy deal just because we knew that they were going to try to hold the ball.
Right.
Yeah.
So they get the football, and it's one of those long, grinding drives. And it seemed to be that they ran. The only play they ran was that old, out of the eye, old-fashioned counter tray.
Pretty much all game. Counter and wide veer. Not your normal inside veer, but wide veer. But, hey, and you can't blame them for doing that because the old cliche, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. We made the stops we needed to make. It's hard. It's very hard when you have 3 days to prepare for a team that we're not going to see that offense all year. It's
right.
Kind of like Navy and those guys, and Paul Johnson. When you only have a week to prepare, it's tough. But when you have a month to prepare, you can really get the whole scheme. So there's a reason why that whole conference out there runs that stuff. It's because, it is hard to stop for teams that you don't play, that don't run that themselves, and they don't play week in, week out.
It reminded me of a couple years ago when Wake Forest went up to play Army.
Yeah.
And Army, it was almost identical. They were running the same play. They were grinding and ground and pound on the ground, and Wake was going up through the air real quick, and it just ended up being something like a 70-56 football game, and it was similar like that. But again, the results weren't what you expected, but the effort, I think you had. It would be safe to say you still had good effort.
Oh yeah, our kids. I can tell you this: our kids don't quit. And last night, Stone. Not just the players. Trust me. Like I told them after the game, we all don't do this just to do it. We gotta let it hurt last night and move on today. That's just part of it. That's part of the business, part of the game. But the way they reacted last night was a positive because, like I said, we're going to win with class, but by God, we're going to lose with class. You know what I mean? We never go into a game expecting to lose, but if something doesn't go our way, we're going to make sure we're classy about it from top to bottom. And that's just that's how we're going to be as a team, and our guys handled it well or as well as you could handle a loss because. I wish, if I had that last play back, I would have called an in breaking route instead of out breaking route because they had a linebacker at corner. Like I said, I probably should have called an in breaking route right there to run away from a guy that's not used to playing in space.
Right. Well, and we will get to that. I just those first quarters in the last, I guess, 3 weeks, they don't last very long.
Yep.
Because it's just a boom, boom, boom. We're going to run it. We're going to do do. And, Chuck, they had 59 running plays They ran the ball 59 times. And again, as I said last week, and I'll say this week, it's not. Hey, credit to our opponents for doing that. But 390 yards rushing, and I would assume that number 3 for Swain County this morning is eating some Wheaties and getting some Gatorade. 37 rushes for that kid last night. That's not easy. So
we threw the ball for what? You said 339?
Well, we threw for over 400.
And
it's indicative of the score. They ran for over 400, and you.
No, we threw for over 400, and we averaged almost 30 yards of completion.
So, but hey, look.
I mean, and like I said, that's just, and everybody understands our offense is high powered in that sense. I get it. I would do the same thing. So our players have done a great job of buying into what we do, making sure they understand our system. We got to clean a couple things up, and that's part of the game.
2-point conversions were a big issue last night, and those are things that I think that again, people think that it's hilarious. People come and they'll call me or they'll see me and they'll go, "What's Jonathan thinking?" I said, "Dude, he might be my son."
I don't tell anybody what I'm thinking.
He is the only, because and again, look, the sun came up this morning.
Yep.
And let me say this, and I want to see Chuck smile, and I want to see our community smile, because folks, this is a process. This program is going to be, but this is the Chuck. Let me just do this, because Chuck's got so many things he's going to ask today, and let's just go ahead and get this out of the way.
There it is.
Because Chuck's gonna because he didn't. I don't think he slept last night going, "Hey, I'm going to ask these questions." And
well, I was starting to get those questions aligned, and I'm thinking, well, no, he won't answer that.
So anyway,
yeah.
So 14-8 at the end of the first quarter. Kind of an ebb and flow. The momentum definitely shifted over to the Mountaineers. Crowd was in the game, and again, what a great crowd last night. They rose up and stopped those 2-point conversions, and again, I know you're not going to talk, and I would never ask about injuries. I just say that our 2 top long snappers are injured.
Well, that has, to me, in the game of football, I'm somewhat analytical in the sense of I trust our team enough to get 3 yards. If we go 50%, we've made every extra point, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And that's the reason why we go for 2 a lot. It has nothing to do with long snappers, has nothing to do with left in a kicker. It has everything to do with analytics of I trust our kids to get 3 yards in whatever way, shape, or form we do it. And, if we, like I said, if we go 50% over the year, obviously one game you're going to go 15%, one game you're going to go 100%.
Right.
It's just, but playing that game, obviously, and I get it, is a little risky of, well, what if the game you go 15%, you lose by 2? Those are the things that you think about. But like I said, the harsh reality is, it's not to try to run the score up on anybody if we're up, blah, blah, blah. It's because I trust our guys to get 3 yards. That's why we go for 2 a lot.
Okay.
Jonathan, where you stand now is, are you coming out of the game thinking, okay, it was the scheme that we faced on our defense, the scheme that we faced, and that we won't face that again. We got a little tweaking to do, or we got a lot of tweaking to do on defense? What is your mind?
Honestly, our defensive scheme, here's the thing. If you look at a lot of the teams, our non-conference schedule was not an easy one by any means. And we faced probably legitimately 4 totally different offenses, like not just spread or not just power eye. and so that's a good thing that we've been tested as much as you can be tested in a non-conference game or schedule that's going to prepare us for down the road when we get into a dogfight in conference, because we've already been in 4 dogfights that we know how to respond. So I loved how our kids reacted to that. Genuinely, they understand that this is a long road. This is not just an overnight deal. We're not just going to go in here and be like, oh, we're this and this, or it's going to be a cakewalk or whatnot. They know that I'm going to make sure we're tested with our games, because when we get into, like I said, the tough stretch of conference, and then hopefully playoffs and deep runs and playoffs over the years, that like I tell them, we're building for that, where those moments aren't a surprise, where the quote unquote the bright lights don't hit you in the face, because we've been there. So I'm encouraged by that. I would say it that way.
Very good.
And Chuck, we're 16 minutes in, and according to I don't hate to do it, but I'm going to do it. We're able to bring this to you, to all to just amazing people in our community, and basically folks that all over the country now are watching us do this. From Crompton's Auto Mart, it'd be me, and used to be Jonathan. Crompton's Auto Mart, 1256 Delwood Road, CromptonAuto.com. And come down today before I go to my brother Frankie's 50th wedding anniversary. And congratulations to my brother and Jonathan's uncle and his Aunt Arlena. We love you.
I'll be there.
But if you will come down here, look at this lot, man, we worked really hard this week. We've got a great full lot of inventory. CromptonAuto.com. Orchard Coffee. And if any group of 3 needed coffee this morning,
coffee every day.
39 Depot Street,
it.
Waynesville, 39 Depot Street. Great people, and it's more than coffee, Chuck. They've got a great menu in the mornings, and I'm not speaking for them, because they open at 8:00. But the last conversation I had with them is, because of what we're doing here, they're probably going to start opening on Saturdays at 7:00, so the crew can all be together to be up there and drink and eat and talk Tuscola football.
Well, all they is big screen TV, and they can, or something to put on a TV so they can watch the Jonathan Crompton show.
Yep, guys, I drink an unhealthy and alarming amount of coffee.
Is that a second cup that you put inside of it?
This is my 3rd cup this morning.
Oh man. Okay.
So,
yeah, told you guys, it's an alarming amount. It's not healthy. I know this.
No, it's not for you.
It's 8:18, and I'm about to have 30 ounces of coffee already.
So, all right. So, hey, go into halftime. We're going into halftime, and it is 20 to, if I remember, 20 to 15. But you feel like, and this is just the perspective of from me sitting and watching. We go into halftime, and even though they're down, they had the mojo going into halftime. Their fans got excited, and they had kept the ball away, and were grinding. So 20 to 15 at halftime, and the thought process, or really not your thought process, but the reaction of the kids, because halftime is a big deal, and it's more than just Gatorade and oranges.
Yeah, no, I mean, here's the thing. I mean, I understand what you're saying about they may have had the momentum, not in our minds and not in our players' minds, because 1, we had the lead. 2, we proved they couldn't stop us offensively. We just had, like I said, we knew we had to be efficient. Once again, there's always going to be a few plays in the game that you wish you had back, but that's always hindsight 2020, and that's going to be every week for every football game at every level. You're always going to have that after the fact. Just as far as what, something happening, whether it's a dumb penalty or, maybe the delay a game, anything where a call, you go, oh crap, I really wish I would have called this, or I wish I would have had this player in. So those things are always going to happen. But at the moment, we knew we had everything right where we wanted it. knew we were getting the ball, knew we were going to be able to go down and score, do what we were supposed to do. And on the first drive, we had I don't know the exact number. It was like a 65-yard completion right out of the gate, and it was everything's clicking. Excuse me. But that's where it goes back to. Like I said, we gotta clean up. End up getting in. There was a couple penalties getting into a fourth down, and again, already had it predetermined in my head talking with Jed West, our quarterback. Hey, if we get in this field position and it's between this down and distance and fourth, or like this yardage on fourth down, what is your favorite play? Like right off the bat, spit out. Cool. So we already know what we're running. So I looked at him and said, "You know the play. We talked about this early in the day," and completed it. Had just an unfortunate penalty as far as not enough guys on line of scrimmage, which once again, I'm not saying anything negative. I'll be politically correct today. I don't feel like getting in trouble, but not just last night. Very unpleased with officials, just say it that way. Very unpleased for not being able to communicate properly and give numbers. So don't really know who this penalty was on. Just say it that way. And backed us up to where we had to quit kick. And just because we still want to give the illusion we were going to go for it. That was unfortunate because we knew if we go down to score and go up by 12, if you go up by double digits on a team like that in the second half, it makes them, especially in the fourth quarter, it makes them get out of their counter, dive, counter, dive, try to throw the ball. Because if I'm not mistaken, I don't think they had a completion all night, correct?
No, they were 0 for 5.
So that if we can make them get into that game, that's our advantage. So we knew that the first drive was very crucial, and then ended up having to quick punt it, just because of a penalty. Like I said, that's on me. I need to do a better job of making sure that stuff's shored up. That's fine. I'm fine admitting that, because we don't have those issues at practice. We just need to make sure it transfers over to the game.
Jonathan, when they were, the counter, the dive, as they're grounding and pounding, is there any adjustments that you and Coach John Austin are kind of talking about?
Oh yeah, no, we made adjustments, and end up once again an offense like that is 98% run last night. I'm just throwing a number out there. I think that's roughly right. You said 50-something runs and 5 passes, so I'm guesstimating on that.
59 runs and 5 passes.
So in the high 90s, right? 2 yards turns into randomly 15. That's the negative of playing an offense like that. So you got to give them credit where credit's due as far as sticking with their game plan of going, hey, it's 3rd and 12. We're still going to run counter. You know what I mean? So you got to give them credit where it's due on that, because on a 3rd and 12, they did bust 1 for 15. And that's the hard part with, like we preached all week, alignment, assignment, execution. It is not a flashy job to be a defensive lineman playing those style teams. But your job of taking the dive or taking the quarterback or whatever it is, depending on your position, has to be done, because the second you don't do that, they can break one.
It has been several times having somebody played in that and coaches coaching against it. They say at halftime, your defense takes such a pounding that at halftime you're physically exhausted. On the defensive personnel are physically exhausted, and if you're using two-way players at halftime, you got some key players that are just, because they're always in contact and taking blows and everything, and in a fight. Was that the scenario going into your halftime?
I mean, it part of it. I mean, we're also roughly on our 5th middle linebacker of the season at the moment.
Right.
Just because of tweaks and injuries and stuff like that. So, I mean, I think Bridger Jones stepped in last night and played a good game for not playing 1 snap of linebacker all season.
That's a sophomore, right?
A junior.
But
and I'm talking about like legitimate not playing 1 snap all season. I think he played pretty well, and then also turned around and having to play tight end on offense. And and also special teams. So yeah, I mean, in a sense like that, if our guys are healthy, then we do have a 2 platoon 95%. But that's football. Things like that are going to happen. Like I said last week sometime, the healthiest you'll ever be in a football season is the first day of practice.
Yeah.
After that, it's just football season. You're always going to have nicks and bruises, and an injury is going to occur here and there. So I think, like I said, for that, I think our guys played well. Our left tackle was having to play 4 technique on defense last night. Except both tight ends were middle linebacker and outside linebacker last night. So it does take a toll. Yeah, it really does.
Right.
But for that being the case, we still protected pretty darn well and still threw for 410 yards with those 3 guys on the field.
And one of the things that excites, especially with Chuck and I, when we have our private conversations and on our show Tuesdays and Thursday nights at 7:30, the David Chuck Show, spreading the ball around. Jonas Howard, I call him 5-spot. Man, 5-spot played well last night. ONC, and again, I've heard 4 different pronunciations of his name just last night. Jonathan, correct me.
Everybody says it different.
Right? How is it pronounced? Because it's respect to him.
But I know that. But like I said, everybody's going to say it different. Onto.
Okay. He had 3 balls for 109 yards. Howard had
and a 50-yarder called back.
Yeah. Jonas 5 balls for 123 yards. And hey, let me tell you what. He took a lick, and I thought, he's done. I said, he's done. To myself, my goodness. 1 play later, he went back on out there, and you ran the same play again for him, and he never flinched. So those are things that I noticed that make me feel good. Mr. Jackson, 3 for 69. KJ, 1 for 35. A great game again in the kick return. Your kick return.
KJ had 2 for 99.
Yeah, and he's not afraid of much, is he?
Because the long one on the first drive.
Yeah.
Got to be smarter than that. I told him, got to be smarter than that. We don't celebrate. We don't do all that stuff in the end zone. Get in the end zone, toss the ball to the ref, come back because he got a touchdown called back.
Yeah,
early on the first drive for taunting on the 5-yard line as he was going in. Cannot do that. Luckily, like I told him, you got 8 seconds. It's over. We're never 100% individually. We're 100% collectively. We got your back, so we went in and scored. Down the road, we just got to be cognizant of we can't. That's not always going to be the case.
And I think the one thing that surprised me a little bit last night was, and I know nothing about your game plans or any of that stuff, but they did a pretty good job of stopping our run game, which. Even though,
but that's why the game plan wasn't run much because their secondary is their weak point. Their strength is their front 7, so I was going to attack their weak point in the secondary, and that's why we were able to exploit it in that way. Because they do got a good linebacking core that can scrape over the top and make the plays before a lineman can get to you on a double team. They do. But like I said, their secondary I think was their weak point, and I think we exploited that last night. But and this is kudos to them. They're not going to face that in their conference. So that definitely helps. So I know why they have a strong front 7. Their nose guard he's low to the ground. By God, he's strong. That is a positive in that Smoky Mountain Conference.
Yeah.
Got it. Well, it's the second half. It was an entertaining game.
Was it?
Well,
I was having a stroke. Look at my watch. It's hilarious. Everybody laughed at me.
That's you. It was entertaining. I thought everything that they did offensively, they were going to do. I was surprised a little bit. I knew that they were going to try to control the clock on the ground.
Yeah.
But the fact is that there's those little things that we get from Jonathan regarding Mr. Bridges coming in. You're on your fifth linebacker, and yet you make no excuses. You just throw a body out there and say, "Go play." And I respect that immensely. So it was an entertaining football game.
It
Just didn't
was.
pull us away last night. Jonathan, you finished the non-conference schedule 2-2, and I don't ever want to say a game doesn't matter, but the real games for you are 2 weeks. Begin 2 weeks from now.
Yes. Now is when playoff rankings actually genuinely come into play. Non-conference helps RPI, but now when your playoff ranking comes into play is the next 7 weeks, but 6 games because we're off this week. Those are the every game matters. It helps your RPI ranking. But the reality is these next 6 are where you get seeded for the playoffs.
Got it.
So now it starts, and before we move on to the open week and start talking about Franklin, and this is the question. This is not just for Jonathan, even though this is your show, and this is something we'll talk about on Tuesday. But just your 4 weeks in, and I'm going to ask you this first for Jonathan: is 4 weeks in.
Mm-hmm.
Are you where you thought you'd be? Because again, you guys kind of started behind the 8 ball. You were 4.5 months behind anyway.
Mm-hmm.
But are you kind of because it's been fun for me to see, especially the kids. What a group of kids you got but football wise,
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to talk about the other stuff because that's right now. Just football wise. Where are you at? I guess that's a better way to ask it. And I want Chuck to, from his eyes, who has put a lot of effort and time into watching this thing change too. So go on, John.
Yeah. I mean, it's not necessarily about where we're at. It's a never-ending evolution. That's the game of football. If you cannot adapt and adjust, you're behind the 8 ball. We adapt and adjust, and our players have learned that, and they've bought into that, and they've bought into the culture that we're instilling of even as little as there's no wrapper in the locker room on the floor. Like, clean up your mess. If it's, dirty laundry goes in the basket, not beside the basket. Those things. So they've 100% bought into that. So it's more than just football. It's more than just X's and O's. Making sure you're a great kid in the classroom, in the community. Like I told them, we don't waver on that, and they know that, and they've bought into that. So it's more so the X's and O's take care of themselves in due time. That stuff happens. You want the kids. Our job as head coaches and football coaches or baseball coaches or basketball coaches at this level is to build young people, male or female, for when they're done with school, whether they go to college or they go into the workforce, be good members of society. So I think we're on the right track. I really, really do. Like I said, it's a never-ending process, but I genuinely think we're on the right track that way, and then that leads over into the football side.
Jonathan, look.
Chuck, what do you, and I want to know what you see at this point.
Well, I've said from the get-go, this is not a sprint. This is a long marathon, and that I have high regards for the head football coach at Tuscola. But he can't sprinkle. He doesn't have pixie dust to sprinkle and say, this is the way I want it, and this is going to happen today. He has a vision, and I trust the vision that he has. And so I'm at 2-2 coming in, knowing what he had. I think that's a very solid non-conference performance and what they've accomplished. What I see is they can light you up offensively anywhere, any team. Defensively is where, coming in late, the weights, the strength, the explosiveness is going to, guys are going to have to, there's got to be an element where you got to get some players, and they're young. And it's like I said to you last night, if you're going to get Jonathan Crompton and his Tuscola Mountaineers, get them this year. Get them this year. Because they'll always be able to strike. And I think that, having the ability to get in there and have a place kicker to kick the ball, have a long snapper to give you a clean snap, having a holder to put it down, always gives you another element to score, and at least come away with points. So if you get a touchdown that's called back, you may, look, we're going to have to play this for a field goal, but you get points and leads get bigger and you get 2 and 3 scores ahead. But we didn't, he didn't plan for, injuries on the long snappers. That has, that's important too. Those positions are very important. So I'm pleased. I'm excited about the future. I'm pleased at what they've done in these first 4 games.
So it's open week, and I don't think it could have come. It came at a really good time, correct? Or am I wrong in that?
Well, yeah, you always want it. Ideally, you always get it right at the halfway point, either after game 4, after game 5, or after game 6. It's not a negative if you don't have it that way, but I mean, that's where as a coach, you'd rather have it there right at the middle of the season so you can break it up to almost 2 seasons rather than it be week 1 or 2 or 8 or 9. It's tough. I don't care. Everybody says it is tough playing 8 straight games without a break. It is, especially on the players. So I think it came up at a perfect time. Let guys get healed up. We obviously got practice next week. Able to focus on ourselves, get back to the basics, so to speak. And I'm pleased that bye week is right around the middle of the year.
Jonathan, what group on your football team, so we can talk about some of these kids, have made the greatest improvement since the beginning of the season?
I don't know if you'd be able to point out just one group. And I'm not saying that as the politically correct coach speak. Obviously, you guys know I'm a very sometimes brutally honest individual. Sometimes you get what you get, right? No, but in all honesty, just the ones that I feel for the most are the seniors, because if they were able to play in our system for at least one more year, seeing their evolution would be phenomenal, because they have bought in. Hey, we've all been there. Like, if
You've been there.
Coaching change, you understand what it's like, especially if you're the senior. Do I really care what this coach says? Or, you know what I mean? Like, there's always those things. Our senior class has 100% bought in and taken ownership of that locker room. Held each other accountable in a positive way, making sure guys do what they're supposed to do. So that's who I would say has made the biggest jump in my mind, is just the whole senior class, because they know they only have 1 year in this system, which I hate as the coach. I hate knowing that, because the senior class is phenomenal in all aspects. So that would be who I would say has probably made the biggest jump, is because they've got out of anybody, they have the easiest route to say, whatever. And they don't do that.
Jonathan, do you kind of go back to your years at Tennessee and talk to them about what, personal experiences of new head coaches or
Not really.
new coaches and new offensive coordinators?
Not really. I may have brought it up once or twice if I'm thinking, but I don't really know. But no, it's more so about today's time. And I kind of laugh and joke about it. And the reason why is because none of them were alive at the moment, really. I mean, you know what I mean? Like, some of them really, none of them were born when I left high school. And so they were too young to remember, or really, like, it's funny. It's funny to think that. Because in my head, I don't feel like I'm 36, but I'm 36. You know what I mean? So it's one of those that I have to take a step back and go, okay, well, do you remember blah, blah, blah? And they're like, never mind. Like, because to me, it's not that long ago. So no,
right.
And that's the reason don't ever really bring up stuff like that is because I want to talk about things that are relevant to them that would resonate in their mind.
And you know, while we're on the subject, I just want to go back and say that just the little times that I get around and to see when I'm not working, and which is all the time, is the interaction that I watch. And this is more than football, I guess. And we always end up in this place with you. But when you talk about your senior class, man, I get emotional seeing how much they care.
No, they
and how
that's,
much
that's what I'm saying is they're the ones that have the easiest excuse. You know what I mean? I mean, at every senior class with a new coach has the easy excuse to be like, I don't really care, man. And that is the last thing that any one of these kids do. Like I said, they've taken ownership of that locker room. They've taken ownership of what I call self-governing and making sure that everybody's accountable for their actions, not in a negative light, but just being like, hey, man, pick up your trash. It's not what we do. Or, hey, make sure you make it to class on time. Those things, because unfortunately, in less than 12 months, they'll either be in college or in the real world. So we try to make sure that they understand life, like lessons as far as like it
and,
stop.
And I know Chuck's got a question. Can I do this real quick? Can I indulge you guys for 1 second just to make sure? And I don't want to leave anybody out because we're at the break. We don't have to talk about next week's game because they're going to be. They got other things to do this week to kind of heal up. But Jude, man, I love seeing Jude, number 0. Mr. Wilson, number 1, Griffin. These are the seniors that I see at this point. Jad West. Can I tell you something? And we've never talked about, Jed coming here. And it's because, number 1, it's nobody's business. Mm-hmm. But I want to tell you, last night after the game, when you talk about character, Chuck, we didn't even talk about this on the way home. After the game, I was just kind of hanging out and said hello to the West parents and all down there at the fence. And Jed came over and hugged me and shook my hand. And he turned around, and there were his guys that he played with from over there came to the game last night and went over and they hugged him and shook his hand and told him how proud of them they were of him. And I thought that's pretty special for them to come to Waynesville to see their friend who's no longer there. So I thought that's pretty special. Hudson, Bryant, KJ, give me 11 KJs. I'll win me a bunch of championships. Jed, Saeed, man, it just goes on and on. These seniors, Aaron, Green, Charlie Green, Graham, because I know that we sometimes don't get to use their names and say their names because it's the lineman or this, but mom and daddy's like Coach Bear Bryant used to say, their mommy and daddies want to hear about them every once in a while.
Yeah.
And Stephen Brooks, Brian, number 57, Brian, Jackson Sutton, Guerrero, pronounce that name, John?
Garrido.
Kruger, Mr. Josh Kruger. When I see that kid, I smile. Mm-hmm. Just a great group of kids. And I just wanted to take a second. If I screwed something up, send me a text, call me, tell me I screwed up. But and if I left somebody out, I apologize. And Jonathan and Chuck will correct me, I promise. But just wanted to take a minute here before the open week and about those seniors, because I know that you when you do talk to me about stuff, you do talk about them.
Yeah.
So now I'll throw it back to you guys.
Well, what are you going to do this open week? You have any plans already constructed about the open week? Time off, healing, get back to work?
And we're going to practice for Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Give them Thursday through Sunday off. And like I said, we're going to focus a lot on, and this is what I think everything does or should do, at least on your open week. You focus on yourself. Get back to the basics. Make sure it's a lot of individual periods, fundamentals. At the O-line level, making sure we work on our double teams. At the linebacker level, make sure we're scraping over the top and wrapping up. They'll just literally focusing on yourselves. So, like I said, we'll go Monday through Wednesday, and go from there. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday off. Give them 4 days to heal up and be a kid, right? Be a teenager. Maybe go watch a buddy or whoever they got friends with that are playing at another school or something on Friday night somewhere, or if they want to go to a college game or something like that, give them time to go be themselves. So that's what open dates are for. And that's nothing crazy planned, nothing, like you said, no pixie dust, nothing, special. Like, we're just gonna do this. Nope, just go back to the basics and work on ourselves.
There's two philosophies working here on the upcoming Friday. What will you be doing and your staff be doing Friday of your? Come on, man.
I've been waiting for that.
What did y'all hear something? What?
No. I thought I
heard something, but I wasn't sure.
Chuck?
Here we go. Here we go. Pick on Chuck now. Lord have mercy.
We've got all sorts of
stuff.
stuff.
Had him, yeah.
There it is.
Yeah, no comment.
But
I thought I had him.
Just like every school, everybody goes and watches somebody play on Friday night. So I don't know what we'll do yet. Just to be honest with you, I hadn't had a full chance to think about it. Who knows? We may just give them the weekend off.
And let me ask you this.
It's not happening. We know this.
No,
I know it.
Yeah. Today, because the thing that people like is they're able to kind of get inside the ropes, to use a golf term, with this show. Normally, you leave here, you go straight up there, and you're putting your game plan in, and you're keeping them up there, your staff up there most, if not all, the day. Today, is it basically just going to be you? Just kind of. I know you.
No, like I said, every now and then you need time away. So we've got Uncle Frankie's anniversary, and everybody's going to go be a family man or whatever they need to do, and have the Saturday off or the weekend off. It's a bye week. We have no game next week, in the sense of yes, our next opponent's Franklin, but we don't have this next week's game film. So this is like I said, it's an off weekend for coaches as well. So why not?
Okay, so we've got some time left, and now we're gonna get into the because Chuck really tried hard. Dadgum, Jonathan, man, and Chuck he interviews people for a living, and he's really good at it. So
I'm really good at avoiding questions too, though.
Yeah, I know. The odds just went up against getting an answer from you this season, an internal question answered. So I'm going back on the odds as far as I'm becoming a long shot.
There you go. Oh no, we'll see. We'll see one day. If I had 4 cups of coffee, I may have answered, but I've only had 3.
Where'd you get your coffee from today?
Orchard.
Orchard Coffee.
Great people. So your staff, and we don't spend a lot of time talking about your staff, and when we do talk, it's we talk about the Austins, but tell me about the other guys that because I'll be the first to admit I didn't even know who these guys were, but man, I watch them and I am becoming a believer in these guys, and I know Branson well, and man, to have somebody like, tell me who your staff is. Tell everybody who your staff is in their area of responsibility without going into your CIA mode, if you could.
Well, good thing is to help out other sports. If you go by the program, help out the cheerleaders, and it's got all their information in there, which is positive. So go, everybody buy a program on Friday nights from the cheerleaders. But
it's a good program, by the way.
And obviously, I call the plays on offense. Austin Sluter is offensive line coach. Houston McCracken is our running back coach. Zach Shepard, receiver coach, and that's our offensive side. Defense, obviously Austin Chambers, defense coordinator, secondary coach. Inside linebackers and outside linebackers combined are Branson Reese and Derek Bradshaw, and then D-line is Leander Dumas.
And a lot of these guys are doubling up and doing the stuff on Thursday nights. And then you got some of them that are even going down and working with the guys on Saturday in the youth program, which, by the way, last Saturday, I went and represented because I know that you tried to get there, but you all were in a staff meeting, and it was 150,000 degrees. And I went and I said, well, I'll stay for an hour. I was there for 6.5 hours. And, man, you got some guys coming. You got some dudes coming in Waynesville. And that I'm not even talking about the middle school program. I'm talking about the youth league program, man. You got some dudes and that love the game and love and can't wait to be Tuscola. So you got some coaches that are actually going coaching varsity, JV, and helping in doing the youth league. Yeah. So football is important here.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, it's always been. That's why you want to be here. Like I said, I've said it before, can't say enough about our community and what the backing has been just for the kids, day in and day out with our local churches, donating our pregame meals, just every little thing we need at every sport we're able to get because of our community.
Jonathan, that's 4 games into the season. You've had that preseason. Now you had the non-conference phase of the schedule. Mm-hmm. How's it been with the parents? Good.
I mean, they understand that their kids are going to be held to a high standard on and off the field, because that's like I said, we have a standard here. That's what we're going to meet, and that's how we're going to do it. We got to have good grades. Right? If you're not eligible, you can't play. So the kids, like I said, everybody's kind of bought in. I've got, in my opinion, some of the best quote unquote team moms around, that if we need something, we end up getting it because they go bust their butt and do it, as far as even just making spreadsheets for pregame meals. It goes, even to that degree. So everything's been phenomenal at the moment. And, I don't foresee that ever changing because we have such a great group following year in, year out.
Excellent.
Chuck, I'm turning it over to you, bud, because I don't want to ask the questions and get embarrassed, in front of people that my kid will kind of.
Oh,
so I'm gonna turn this.
So not you, but I get embarrassed right now.
No.
People are laughing at Waynesville. Oh, Chuck, he tried again. Tried to get that information.
How do you? I'm right here, guys.
What?
I'm right
don't
here.
Act like you. Oh, Coach Bill. Right now I'm dealing with Belichick, a clone of Bill Belichick.
I don't know. No, I'm not that crazy.
Well,
I mean, I'm out there. I'm out there, but I don't know if I'm that. I don't know. I'm not fully there.
And
people like to hear the things. It's not problem. I'm not saying that is problem, but you're trying to. Let's put it this way: can the defense get better?
Well, yeah. Well, all three phases of the game can get better. That's the thing is, especially even offensively, if we genuinely clean up penalties that are cleanable. My brain wasn't fully functioning. I didn't have my 40 ounces of coffee yet. As far as just who's on the line, who's not, blah, blah, blah. Or making sure we don't jump a little bit early on the snap or something like that. I mean, we can get better offensively to be able to put up 40, 45, 50 points a game, right? I mean,
right.
It's just what it is. So it's not just one side of the ball. Football is the ultimate team game. So, everybody, offense, defense, and special teams can get better. And the thing is, we want to get better because that's our kids want to get better. Our coaches want us to get better. Our coaches want to get better. And that's what we're going to.
How do you do that? In your philosophy, how do you get how do you clean up one phase of the game? How do you clean up the penalties? How do you clean that up?
Put them in as stressful of a situation, game-like as you can in practice. You know what I mean? No, and don't get me wrong, that's very tough because at practice it's very ungame-like as far as atmosphere. You know what I mean? So that's just comes with experience as well. Things are going to happen, especially early in the year. Now, obviously, week 4, that's not what I'm getting at. But game 1, everybody, if you go down the board and look at the penalties game 1, everybody's in double digits, like almost every team in the state, just because it's the first game. Kids are antsy. And if you look at it, most of them are 5-yard penalties, which tell you it's probably a false start or an offsides on defense. But as you get going in the year, that's when you start seeing the penalties drop because they're getting back used to what we call being under the lights on Friday night. But yeah, we got to make sure that during practice, put them in the situations as close as you can in a game, and go from there and really stress the little things because the little things make the biggest difference in life.
The intensity, you got a lot of kids who play with intensity and the emotion in the game, you don't want to play out of control. But if you got players that are sometimes can get loose off that intensity and draw a flag, how do you dial them back at the same time wanting them to keep being intense?
Well, like I said, starts with culture. You got to let them know, man. This is a physical, quote unquote, violent game, right? Because you're genuinely going full speed, hitting people. So not violent, not like trying to hurt anybody, but the reality is it is a testosterone fueled sport. So we preach to them. We got to be smart. Got to be smart. The 30 seconds of gratitude is not worth of a lifetime of regret. And I tell them that all the time, meaning not just in life, but on the football field. That 5 seconds, it was worth it that you got the gratification for knocking the dude over after the play or whatnot is not worth the 15-yard penalty and us not being able to score or us not being able to hold because we hold them because we gave them a first down on whatever. Those things, just stressing it daily. And eventually it just starts to click and it makes sense because they start buying into it. And, we haven't had many like unsportsmanlike conducts. Now there was one last night on a crucial 3rd and 18 and it was a horrendous call. Horrendous. I don't care what anybody says. Y'all can get mad at me. You can say whatever you want, blah, blah, blah. Our defensive lineman, Jackson Sutton, did not spear anybody. He tackled him. And then our quarterback gets speared and gets his face mask chipped. And they look at me and go, So the referee threw atrocious, because it's about player safety. You can't say a normal tackle one-on-one and him going down on a hip roll is a spear, but our quarterback getting speared twice on the last drive and just looking at me and shrugging his shoulders. Horrendous.
Yeah, well, that seemed to be that, we're always trying to get better. It seems like that's never getting better. But
Well, the
That's me.
referees need, you know what? Then the referees need to own their mistakes and get better. Because the one thing that I've said, and, I'm not complaining. I'm just calling it like it is. If I use their name or if I said something about them, I'm getting called to the principal's office, so to speak. Right? You know what I'm saying? Like I'm going to get a phone call like, oh, you can't do this by the state. I just say the principal's office, not necessarily actually meaning my principal, but for them, there's no repercussions at every level. That is every level. If Josh Heupel goes and complains about the referees after today's game, he's getting fined, but the referees have no repercussions for blowing a call.
Right.
That's something that's got to change in some way, shape, or form. Because yes, the game is. People go, well, the referees don't change the game. The referees do, in turn, control the outcome of the game. So stuff like that. I'm not making any excuses. I promise you, I'm not. But when you tell me there was a spear and we go back and watch it on film, trust me, the film has already been sent into the state to review that crew from last night.
Very good. And you're doing that to protect players.
It is not just us. Every team that any crew is going to have, it's about player safety, man. These are teenagers. I get it. It is a testosterone fueled sport. You're genuinely physically hitting people. I get it. But there's a difference in tackling and spearing. When you do this and drop your head, that is a flag. When you throw a punch, that's an ejection. In case you're wondering, I, head coach, personally overheard the referee say, well, their kid punched their blah, blah, blah number, punched our blah, blah, blah number in the throat. Well, that's an automatic ejection. Nothing happened. Just a penalty. Atrocious.
Well, I've always kept this, and I know it's not whining, but when in sports, when you get paid to do something, refereeing, coaching, you are a professional. By definition, you are a professional official. Professional. And the lack of knowledge of a rule book. And I don't want to hear the excuses by former referees or current referees is that, we're struggling to, fill spots.
We're struggling to fill spots as teachers too.
Right. They're professionals. When they take money for doing a service in sports, they're professional.
Yep. And I'm going to say this, and I know my dad's going to get mad at me. You do know that there was only one referee last night that knew that meant eligible. I'm eligible.
One. Yeah.
And they're and they are refereeing a football game. Just throwing it out there. Take it for what it's worth. Bash me all you want. I'm a grown man. Bash me. But by God, my job is to protect kids.
When
That's all
just we're running up on the end of the show, but
I
have to run.
Okay.
Yeah. So here's what we got. Here's what we have. Chuck and I will be back Tuesday and Thursday of this week with our show. We're going to do the Jonathan Crompton show next week. I hope Jonathan's here, but we're going to do it with or without him as we get ready for Franklin, and he'll be here because
I may adjust the time.
His Orchard Coffee, but going into the bye week, 2-2, and the two that we took the loss could have gone either way, but at the end of the day, that's like you want to win everything you play. But 2-2 going into the conference schedule. The conference is what it's all about. So thank you guys. If you see our family today out and about, wish he's my everybody knows my brother Frankie, but we call him Uncle Frankie around here because of Jonathan. 50th wedding anniversary for Uncle Frankie and Aunt Arlena. Wow, where's the time go? And we're going to have a big get together today. We're not really going to talk football. We're going to love on our family. So if you see Frankie down here, tell him congratulations because 50 years is a heck of a long time. And for Aunt Arlena to put up with my brother. So thank you to our community. we've got folks that are going to meet with us this week. Chuck, I hadn't told you that we're going to add to our sponsorship. Folks want to be a part of this. And Jonathan, get us out of here, and then Chuck will close it, and we'll see you guys Tuesday night. Go Mountaineers. Any parting words, John?
No, and I just thank you, everybody that's doing their part to help along the way, and looking forward to a bye week, and can't wait to be back on the field in 2 weeks.
Chucky?
Yeah, I'd like to just add one thing, because they watched the show, and they watched Dave and Chuck's show, and they also watched the Jonathan Crompton show up in Michigan. But last night, my niece, Mary Catherine Fiebernetz, was inducted into the Linden High School Hall of Fame.
Nice.
That's the third Fiebernetz that has been inducted into the Hall of Fame. My brother Kevin's in the Michigan High School Athletic Association Hall of Fame for him. Also the winningest soccer coach in state, 825, 826 in running wins. And then I was inducted at Elma College Sports Hall of Fame. So 3 Fiebernetz.
Love it.
Let's do that. See you guys Tuesday. Have a good week.
Have a good weekend.
The sun came up today. We're going to be okay. Just keep building and grinding. See you guys. Chuck, stay on like always on Saturday.
All right.